now recording, and just want to say good morning to everyone. Happy Monday. It's going to be an interesting couple of weeks because obviously we're entering into a school holiday period. But to those who are joining us by listening in, thank you so much for listening to our panel discussion this morning. My name's Kayley. I'm the Vice President of the Hastings Business Women's Network, and we've got a great group of ladies this morning who are going to be part of our panel. We do have apologies from Leslie Williams, our local member, but we do have a special guest in our local mayor. So big welcome to you, Mayor Peta Pinson, and to our regular panel members, as well as our President, Kelly King. We do have a member of the Business Women's Network who keeps dropping in and out, and a couple might join us. So hopefully we'll have a few more faces. Here comes Jane. So we're going to go to you first, Peter, if that's okay. And like I said, thank you for joining us. And if you can provide us with an update on what's been happening from a local government point of view, that would be awesome.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Kelly. Thank you for the invitation to participate this morning. And it's really good to see you all here. And for those of you who are joining us now, welcome as well. As far as local government is concerned, there's always something happening. No 2 days are the same, and especially at this time of the year, we've got budgets that have been formed, the operational plan that has been resolved by council, and what those capital works programs will look like, what we'll be delivering to our community in the next 12 months. But on top of that, obviously, we've been experiencing the lockdown period that Covid-19 presented, and also what that means financially as far as our economy is concerned. I've had the absolute pleasure of participating in the Covid-19 Recovery Working Group, and I've tried to make it to all of them. We have had a wonderful collaboration of community leaders. People have really stepped up and offered, and it really has been a huge effort because there's been a lot of time involved in what we've needed to do as far as the working groups are concerned. So we had a large working group to begin with, then we sheared off into smaller working groups. So those smaller working groups could focus on particular, solutions to pockets of our community. And they're things like community wellbeing, because it's really important, obviously, for our community that our mental health is well looked after, that our community also feels safe at this very uncertain time, and also that our most vulnerable in our community don't fall through the cracks. So that's a really important group, I feel. And also we've got learning and skills, which really covers those people who are finding themselves unemployed or underemployed. So, and the underemployed is really interesting because while some people might still be gainfully employed, their employment hours may have reduced substantially. So it's about regaining your confidence. If you need to reskill, it's where do you find those areas of learning that you may need to reskill in. For our youth especially, you know, there's a lot of people that are going to be coming into our workforce, which are our youth. How do we manage the unemployment that we have, and on top of that, our youth coming into the marketplace too? And it's just about finding some stability where it is relatively unstable at the moment. So, you know, there's been some great work done in there. Also support for our local business. Local business is the heartbeat of this region. It is what drives our economy. It is what employs our people. It is what creates vibrancy within our community. So we've been working on how council can support local business, and by ways of either reductions to fees and charges, allowing them to, have their outdoor eateries a little bit further out onto the footpath and reducing those fees as well. So we're talking about also how do we encourage local business to do business with council as well. through the local preference policy that council has as far as procurement is concerned. There's also the capital works, which I spoke about before. We were starting off with a $64.5 million operational plan. Due to COVID, we've bolstered that by an extra $20 million. So that's to get some real meaningful works down on delivered down on the ground. So big numbers. Roads are always of an interest. Not so much though over probably the last 18 months. I find people are really concerned about our water security. We're putting big money into water, stormwater, sewer, obviously very important. We're putting sewer services into small towns and villages which haven't had sewer before. So that's, you know, a big difference to those areas. We're also looking at, I guess, waste management. We're creating so much waste in 2020, even though we're making efforts to reduce the waste at the shops. Those packages that manufacturers collectively put around what our products are is really creating waste for us. So there's lots of money going in there. I really want to address the Women's World Cup for 2023, which is just like so mind-blowing. I'm so excited. There's some emails flying around at the moment within council about how can we take advantage of this. I mean, this is just excitement on steroids, because to have women recognised in sport this way, and I know the ladies are starting to really make a mark in cricket, football, which is / soccer. It was soccer when I played it, but football, you know, the AFL, rugby and union, you know, those male dominated sports now are seeing real athletes, women athletes coming to the forefront. And with the World Cup, you know, the lead up to that is going to get so much coverage. We are looking at as a football field of excellence for soccer. So it's about how we're going to bring that project forward so we can take full advantage of what something like that would mean to our area, because there's going to be a lot of little girls that are going to watch this with their dads and brothers and mums, and all of a sudden they're going to have a real love for the sport and they're going to want to play soccer as well, or football. So we need to take advantage of that. We're 4 hours down the highway from Sydney, and really we could be a training camp, and the flow-on effect from that will just be astronomical. So we've got arts, culture and creative industries also through the COVID working recovery group that we're focusing on, because, you know, art and culture is just so important to vibrant communities like ours. We've just been in, you'll hear about this after the council meeting, but we've also just been recognised. We're having our status changed from regional rural council to regional centre. So that's a big deal. Yeah, and actually, you guys have got the scoop because you're hearing it first. Yeah, so that's pretty amazing. We're such a high growth area. We really are at the hub of where people are wanting to live, learn, and lifestyle. And you know, with it being so close to the city area and so close up to Brisbane as well, we're kind of like that halfway point now. So that's very exciting. School holidays are about to start. So, you know, that means tourists. And I have to say the long weekend, we had amazing capacity in our accommodation places. That's really great news. It was active. People were engaging. The weather was fantastic. If we can have weather like we've been having, it will be glorious. You know, our zoo is open now, Billabong Zoo. Big shout out to the guys at Billabong. And, you know, a lot of our you know, walking trails are being upgraded. So there's really those adventure experiences to have too. So all in all, you know, there's a lot of stuff happening at council, and they're just the things that I'm touching on. I mean, there's a lot more that goes on, but, you know, as we come out of COVID, I feel a real optimism. I feel, you know, from a leadership perspective, before we went in, we were really spinning, our wheels were spinning, a lot of confidence in our region. as we come out of COVID, I expect that that confidence is going to return. You know, yes, we're a little scarred from what we've been through in the last 18 months. We've been through, you know, bushfires, minor flooding. We've had, you know, Lake Cara, which has really been a source of interest for our community with the drought that we had and how dry it was. You know, we've had, it really is, Australia really is a land of flood and rains and bushfires, and it feels like Port Macquarie Hastings region has had all of that, and then to top that off, a world pandemic, who would have ever thought? But from a leadership council perspective, we've got much to be grateful for, and we've got a lot of work to do, and I'm pretty excited about getting that work done. So thank you for the opportunity to update you with all of those goodies.
Wow, thank you so much. That's so exciting. Some exciting things there. It's really uplifting to hear all of that, Peter. Thank you for sharing that. And it sounds like you have been super busy with the recovery working group and the capital works, which we can all see happening around community. There's definitely a lot of progress. Now, before we go to our other panel speakers, I might just check in and see if anyone has any questions for our Mayor. I can see something in the chat box. You know, yeah, just a lot of good feedback around exciting initiatives happening in our local area. But I'm just going to check in and see if anyone wants to verbally ask any questions of Peter, or whether you want to put anything in the chat box, because definitely some food for thought there, but it does sound exciting and really reassuring. Yes, I'm just touching on that feedback that we can hear in the chat room around yeah, about how exciting it is if we were able to make the most of the Women's World Cup. That was a really interesting point. It'd be great if we could have some local players here. I know that there's a lot of chat about there being games in Newcastle, which of course is just down the road, but you know, could bring, you know, bring lots of opportunity to our local area, which is great. So I'll give you all a moment to reflect on that update, because we've got a while, and you can definitely ask some questions, because Peter's going to hang around with us for the whole session. So thank you for that. But we might go to you, Cara. A bit of a hard act to follow, because it was really an exciting update. But if you can give us, start by introducing yourself in case we've got any new listeners, and then give us an update on deadlines and interesting important news from a grants and funding perspective, that would be great.
Sure. Thank you so much, Kayley. Thank you, Kelly, and Mayor Pinson. Great initiatives are coming through for the community, which is fantastic. I would love to see those when they in the next few months. So my name's Cara Dale. I'm the director of Seachange Consultancy, and we're based at Lake Cara, and we provide knowledge and help in relation to businesses and community groups and councils effectively connecting with government for primarily grant opportunities and tenders. So there's a few things that have happened since the last meeting, and this is just the evolution that's happening, where both levels of all three tiers of government are constantly assessing what our economy and our communities need for funding, and how to actually ensure that people have jobs post-October once JobKeepers is due finished, and other things that are happening. So they're very driven by shovel-ready projects. So if we look at the business, as a business owner first, COVID-19 $10,000 support working grant closes at midnight tomorrow, the 30th of June. That's designed if you've had 75% decline over a 14-day period from the 30th of March this year. And you apply for that either through Service New South Wales, but you've only got a very small window of that opportunity. Come Wednesday, the state government is now bringing out a $3,000 grant, and it's a COVID-19 recovery grant, and it's designed to help businesses put up the signage, market that they're open, get their businesses, you know, work safe and COVID compliant. The other thing is that WorkSafe New South Wales has also brought out a grant for a number of things around COVID and improved COVID-19 PPEs and PPAs and equipment. So it's designed to help you buy infrastructure if you need that to allow your staff to safely work. And that can also be the plastic petitions and things like that if you're in a retail environment. So there are some initiatives available there. The other great news is last Thursday, the federal government came out with a $250 million fund designed to for the creative arts. Now, that there's 4 streams within that $250 million, and there is grants that will be available. They're saying information will get released from Wednesday for tourism-based businesses or events-based businesses for grants and festivals and events, so for their future. So and that's $75,000 to $2 million, I think, from memory. Yeah, $75,000 up to $2 million, and it comes back to how much the reach of your event will be, and it's an opportunity to really, even existing events that are due over the next 12 months, it would be worthwhile looking at that funding, because you can make your future event even better than by having that cash injection. So that's just food for thought. And then so basically, there is, as I said, significant opportunity coming out. It's reviewed on a daily basis. And just like late last week, there was another initiative from, they're basically doing it state by state. So Tasmania and South Australia had an initiative brought out for shovel-ready community projects. And they're progressively this week due to roll out New South Wales, Queensland, Victoria. So there's also opportunities there for businesses and community groups. So every day it's evolving, and yeah, if anyone needs any information, they can always feel free to give me a call and we'll share that information.
Great. Wow, that's so useful, Cara. I really appreciate that, because it's so much for everyone to keep on top of. And as you always say to this group, we have to be careful not to self-exclude, because there is a lot of opportunities available to businesses that are struggling or businesses that are doing some great stuff in rebuilding. So yeah, I really encourage anyone to contact Cara if they have any questions about grants or funding. But if anyone has any questions during this session, I can see Kelly has, then feel free to ask, because that's why Cara's here. So Kelly, we'll just go to you, because I think you've got a question for Cara.
Yeah, just a quick question, Cara. The Covid-19 $10,000 grants, are they, I know they're closing tomorrow, but do they still exclude community groups that don't have paid employees? So any volunteer driven organisations, are they still excluded from accessing those grants? And the new $3,000 ones, are they again tied to businesses that have you know, 1 or more employees?
Okay, very good question. So we've actually put a paper up to Treasury New South Wales advocating for changes for COVID-19, because we've seen significant, and we're still working with it, but so we've seen significant impact on non-for-profits and sporting groups, with the impact that a lot of them have missed their seasons and their key income, and they're using cash reserves to pay for insurance that now is more than likely not applicable, but they had to pay for it. So we have been trying behind the scenes since the COVID-19. So in relation to the $10,000, it looks like we haven't been able to change that. But the good news is the $3,000 we've been told by Treasury and the people we've been liaising with our paper that we put up, that non-for-profits will be able to, there's no FTE requirement, but we've got 2 days and that's the advice we've received. So as soon as, so we've had some win, like that they might be $3,000, but we have been behind the scenes working really hard, demonstrating to Treasury and ministers how communities and non-for-profit groups need financial support. So,
wow.
Thanks, Cara.
Does that answer your question, Kelly?
Yes, that's great. And thank you for your ongoing advocacy and lobbying in those areas for those smaller groups who unfortunately haven't had the opportunity to receive that support so far. So hopefully that will come soon.
Yeah, and just for those small groups, if you are in our local area and you were affected by bushfires, there is bushfire funding support that may be able to offset and help. So there are other channels or other pathways to get financial support. But I have had a number of sporting clubs contact me, and you know, in January and February is normally the year they pay for their insurance. They've either had their season completely ended, or so most of them are using cash reserves, which means next year we're going to, as a community, really need to be behind some of these sporting clubs, because yeah, and that's where I think part of you know, the government wants livability, and part of our community fabric is non-for-profits and sporting groups, and we really need to support them because they pay for insurance that, you know, they were told, if you don't take it, we can't guarantee it, because insurance companies were very cautious and very concerned about COVID-19. So they've taken the insurance, and now as we're up to July, a number of sporting disciplines are proceeding, but on a reduced season, and others are making the decision that they're not going, the whole club is not going to contribute into the competition. So yeah, we need to make sure next year we really support our sporting clubs. Yeah, but I am doing, as I said, lots of advocacy behind the scenes to make sure the government's well aware with data of how they are impacted.
Wow, that's great. Thank you so much, Cara. Really important information, and so broad, isn't it? There's just so many effects and so many various aspects to direct and indirect impact that you continually to bring to our awareness.
Yes, and one thing I did forget was that we did advocate for changes for bushfires to allow non-for-profits to be involved. So we had a win there, had a potential win with the $3,000, and we've just been, you know, we can't win everything, but we've definitely put a strong case forward and made sure that they understand. And I think that may lead, there are conversations having in government about supporting sporting clubs and non-for-profits. So it may go down a different pathway, but we still get a positive outcome for our non-for-profits and community sporting groups.
Well done. Really, really well done. So thank you on behalf of everyone in our community, and thanks for bringing it to our attention, because, you know, we can start to share that message really strongly.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's helpful. Anyone that rings, that gives me more data to put forward. So even if we can't help, you know, we can put that club forward and understand, and, you know, it's diverse what has happened to the sporting clubs in relation to their impact. And the more data we have and the broader we can provide examples, the stronger our argument is. Yeah, so people are always welcome to give me a call about their own sporting clubs.
Yeah, great point. I can see people taking notes. That's excellent. Do we have any questions for Cara before we move on to Sandra? But again, Cara's hanging around, so if you do think of questions as we progress, then we can definitely go back. But happy end of financial year to our resident accountant. What would you like to update everyone on this morning, Sandra?
Good morning, Kayley. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me again this morning. My name's Sandra Magann. I'm the Principal Accountant of Seachange Accounting. We're a team of accountants who love technology and helping small business with their tax accounting needs. We've been really busy over the last 2 weeks, obviously with the end of financial year tomorrow, which has come around so quickly this year. Obviously with COVID, it's become a much more involved process this year. Businesses have been affected by COVID, and we've been able to actually have a look now at their results for the 12 months and being able to compare that to how they've travelled in the past. So we can see that COVID has affected a lot of businesses with their turnover, but the measures such as JobKeeper and the cash flow boost, as well as the state government grants, have flowed back in. So it's been interesting just to have a look at how that has assisted businesses with their cash flow and their profitability. So a lot of these factors in determining the tax position for businesses is to take into account some of these grants and stimulus measures are taxable and some aren't. So we've just needed to have a look at that. So that's just something to bear in mind when you're assessing your tax position for this year. And there's also some other measures that were brought out by Treasury earlier this year for COVID. One of them was the instant asset write-off. So that threshold's been lifted from 30,000 to 150,000 for assets acquired, new or used, which has assisted in businesses reducing their taxable income for the year. There's also some accelerated depreciation measures that apply for assets over that 150 or businesses that might not be using the small business depreciation measures. There is also a new rate that employees and business owners that are working from home can use in their tax return to claim some of those running costs. So that's a little different to what we've had in the past with how we claim that. So we've just been getting our heads around how those rules work. In relation to JobKeeper, we've still got today and tomorrow for businesses who have not yet enrolled, if they are eligible and they've been paying the minimum for their employees, that they can still register for June. So that ends tomorrow, the 30th of June. And then from Wednesday, from the 1st of July, for those businesses that are enrolled, they can now claim the June JobKeeper. So what they've paid out for the 2 fortnights in June, they can claim that back. And as usual, they need to report their actual turnover for the month of June and their forecast for July and confirm they're eligible employees.
Thank you so much, Sandra. It's always good to just be reminded of those dates, and especially when some of those deadlines keep being extended, and you similarly to Cara keep bringing our attention to different things that are available. And I guess it's just, there's just so many new things to get our head around from a taxation point of view and a claiming point of view. So, you know, do remember to speak to your accountant, and if you don't have one, obviously Sandra and her team are there to help. But I'll just check in with our participants and see if anyone has any specific questions for Sandra, or if you have any questions for Peta or Cara as well. I can see people taking notes, Sandra, so that's good. You're obviously bringing lots of things to people's attention, so that's really reassuring. I can't see any questions in the chat box, so what I might do is just go back to the panel and see if anyone wants to ask questions of each other or any final, and then I'll go to final words. No? Obviously, you're all incredibly comprehensive in your updates, but you've definitely given us lots to think about, not just from a deadline point of view. We've got grants, we've got taxation, we've got claiming, there's still funding available, but just a huge thank you to all of our panel, but particularly our guest speaker. So it's just been fantastic having you join us this morning as our local mayor, Peta, and for giving us just such an uplifting update, because it is great to see that there's so much exciting things happening in our local government, lots of work happening around the area, which we can all see on a daily basis. But it's just so great, isn't it, to hear you talk about us coming out the other end of what has been such a challenging 18 months for everyone, both personally and from a business point of view. And, you know, it's great to hear that you've got a recovery working group that's doing a lot of good things, and we've got lots of things to be excited about. So hopefully the next couple of weeks will be super exciting for local businesses, and we'll have lots of great business coming into the local area. But also, and I know Leslie would say this if she was here, we have to make sure that we still remain really careful from a health perspective. So it's going to be a big challenge for us to balance both of those aspects in the next couple of months, and hope that we can keep our local area very safe as well and healthy, particularly when we see what's happening with our neighbours down south, that, you know, it's just still a very risky time, but hopefully we can balance that care and health with some growth in our local businesses and some really great visitors to our area, both highlighting what a beautiful area it is and visiting our local businesses and zoos and hospitality and tourism areas. So a big thank you to everyone joining us today. I know Monday mornings can be really busy, but we just find it really exciting to start our week with great speakers. So I will just check in and see if anyone has any final words. Do you have anything you want to add, Sandra, to your update? You're all good? Thank you. Anything from you, Cara?
No, I think I've covered it. But just always, yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
I was just going to say, always just remember, don't self-exclude, and remember it's changing daily. So what you might not be eligible last week, you're eligible this week. So
yeah. And I think that's why it's great that people are continuing to engage with listening to these sessions, because there's often new news from you as well, Cara. So once again, thank you for joining us. Peta, our local mayor, do you have any final words or anything you'd like to say before we finish up?
Well, yes, I would. I'd like to also leave you with this thought that Council is also bringing forth a program called PMH Cares, and talking about well-being of our community, making sure we're keeping safe. You know, thank you, Kayley, they're great words. And this is why we're, you know, a low transmission area, because we are all doing the right things. We are keeping our social distance. We are continuously washing our hands. We are using the sanitizer. We are staying indoors when we're feeling unwell. So well done to all of us. In order to stay that way, though, we need to continue those things. But there are also a lot of people out there who, you know, are in a vulnerable period of their lives, whether they be through being isolated because they're living alone. This program talks to neighbours, coming to the aid of neighbours, which is just wonderful. And you can go onto Council's website, look up PMH Cares. We're looking for neighbourhood champions, those people who have a little bit of time to reach out to their neighbours where they may be able to assist. So it could be collecting the mail, bringing it in, sitting with someone, having a cup of tea and a chat. You know, checking on your neighbour, just knocking on their door to make sure, you know, they're up and about, especially if they're more elderly and frail. You know, there's a lot of things we can do. Taking their dog for a walk if they broke their leg, or, you know, there's just old fashioned back in the 50s when neighbours knew neighbours, they had chinwags over the fence. We're hoping to bring that, you know, that real concern and care back into our region. So PMH Cares, go onto the website and check it out.
That's fantastic. And I can see Kelly jotting something down. I think we might be able to put something in Poppy Connect about that as well. And really help spread the word, because that's a wonderful way to finish this morning, but also just a really great initiative. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Kelly, do you have any final words from a president point of view?
Just quickly, thank you, Mayor Peta Pinson and Sandra and Cara for being part of our panel today, and as always, Kayley, for your facilitation. It's always amazing how you manage to pull us all together and keep us in on topic, and the discussion flows seamlessly, so thank you for that. From a Hastings Business Women's Network point of view, we had our annual general meeting last week, and with the further easing of restrictions on the 1st of July, we are also starting to ease back into more live events. So our first face-to-face coffee catch-up will happen next Tuesday at the Westport Club at Hastings Coffee Co. Of course, you know, the numbers are actually, it's tomorrow, the coffee catch-up. Of course, numbers are limited, strictly limited, and physical distancing restrictions apply. So we encourage people who, you know, are keen to connect. I've had a number of members say, oh, I just need to get out and see people. So always be safe, but if you're keen to, you know, to have that personal connection, then the Hastings Business Women's Network is moving forward with some of those initiatives as the restrictions ease from the 1st of July. So tomorrow, our first face-to-face coffee catch-up since COVID-19 restrictions came into place, and we hope to be able to, you know, extend that as the restrictions continue to ease with more face-to-face events, and we're excited to be able to do that. Additionally, we, with the help and support of Cara and her team at Cedar Hills, HBWN was successful in receiving some funding, which has enabled us to extend the support to our members for deferring membership payments, and also the opportunity for people to connect with HBWN for free membership up till the end of September. So we want to be able to support as many women in our community as we possibly can, and being able to provide that connection through the Hastings Business Women's Network, regardless of you know, what position they find themselves in. They should have that opportunity to connect with other women in business, so that we can support each other. That's really important at this time. So, so yes, do try and keep in touch with us via our Facebook pages, our fortnightly webinars on YouTube, and now as we ease back into face-to-face events. Stay tuned for more information on that, and have a great week, everyone.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And once again, thank you to our panel, and thank you to our members who have joined us and given us some new faces to look at and some questions and feedback through the chat box. So I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I am going to stop the recording now.